All right, we will bring this agenda and priorities meeting to order. It's 3 p.m., March 2nd, and I'd ask Councillor Heistad to please read the land acknowledgement.
Thanks, Mayor Barclay. The town of Innisfil acknowledges that we are meeting on Treaty 7 territory, the ancestral and traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Kainai, Piikani, and Siksika, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and Stoney Nakoda First Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3, with the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We acknowledge that many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who have lived in and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on.
All right, thank you, Councillor Heistad. Moving on to 2.1, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Can I please have someone make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
Mayor Barclay, I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Russell. All in favour? Okay, carried. All right, we will move into 3.1. I'd like to welcome Paul Salvatore, Executive Director of Central Alberta Economic Partnership. So welcome, Paul. Thanks for coming today, and we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you to all members of the Council this afternoon, members of administration who've joined me here with you. It's been just over 9 months since myself and my consulting company, Municipal Experts, took over the day-to-day operations of Central Alberta Economic Partnership. A big part of the work that we have been doing has been focused on building relationships and also talking more about the role of economic development, in particular regional economic development in Central Alberta. So what is CAEP? Question you might ask. You may have heard the term, and why do we spell it that way if it's pronounced CAEP? Just by tradition. I'll tell you a little bit about the history, but first I'll describe CAEP as a regional catalyst for competitiveness and investment attraction and investment readiness. What that means is that when you work with CAEP, you can leverage funding opportunities and relationships and ideas to move your community forward. We do that through the 25 plus strong members of Central Alberta Economic Partnership, a relationship that has lasted since the late 1990s. We were formed as a Part 9 corporation in and around the year 2000 with over 300,000 Central Albertans being representative through that group. If we total up all of the elected officials within the region, we get a number around 175 elected officials. That gives us significant advocacy power and profile in order to tell the stories about the challenges that we might face, but also talk about the ways that we can work together to get support for different types of projects in the future. We are professional economic developers through my previous experience in economic development and community services within local governments and across Alberta, managing other projects for REITs, but also within the sphere of consulting on investment attraction plans, economic development assessments, and generally having an overall perspective on economic development that covers across, standards and excellence across Alberta and across Canada. So we've been connected to that network, and that helps us to speak with authority on matters in relation to economic development. Getting people together, getting people together We have a number of different projects that we've done over the last several years. Some of them that the town of Innisfail has participated in directly include community profile development through another consultancy called McSweeney, based out of Ontario, as well as working with your economic development officer and others in the region to focus on priorities, but also amplify some of the great success that you've had here in Innisfail. One of the things that we talk about is cluster development, and Innisfail regularly comes up in the conversation as that new energy or carbon capture and storage sort of epicenter of activity in Alberta between Deep Sky and the work that's being done at Bilton to do retrofitting of diesel locomotives to hydrogen, but also expanding the conversation around the types of sectors that are important here, but also the type of future work that we should be paying attention to. So on the whole, in combination, we want to grow more jobs, bring more investment, and enhance the quality of life, much of the focus that every municipal government has in the region. When I'm approached by someone outside of our region to say, who are we and what do we represent? Well, I always say we're the meat and the sandwich between Calgary and Edmonton. That usually results in a bit of a chuckle on their part, thinking about that, but as that starts to sink into their brain, they get a better sense of who we are and where we're located. Of course, no one has to tell the town of Innisfail how important the Queen Elizabeth II Highway is for your exposure to business, your nodes to transportation, your access to different markets, and the mobility that comes with being a community in central Alberta. It's very common for me in my previous life as an economic development officer in what was then the town of Lacombe. About 22 years ago, I started in that position. People in central Alberta are very mobile. People I knew there drove to Innisfail to work at the John Mansfield plant. People in Innisfail drive to Lacombe to work at AFSC or other organizations in Red Deer or Blackfalds or Olds. It's just a mobile place. Everyone accepts that their access to transportation is a personal vehicle, and they take that opportunity to connect in different ways. It means that more families can live here with a spouse who might work in one community and another half of that couple working elsewhere, versus just a smaller piece in a smaller location. It's important to distinguish what CAEP is not. We're not a municipal development office, we're not a planning or development control office, and we're not a direct funder of activities and projects. However, we do facilitate funding through our partners at the provincial and federal level, and we can aggregate funding from our other members so that we can build projects that have better economy of scale and better return on investment for our membership. We are not partial to one municipality. All of our municipalities pay the same rate. That's currently 90 cents per capita. And I also like to say every 3 years, that gives us the ability to say every one of your residents buys us a cup of coffee once every 3 years. We're not a duplicator of service, so what we do, and we know that there are other organizations out there like the Chamber of Commerce, Community Futures, Central Alberta First, and others that provide different types of service. We work diligently to make sure the work that we do dovetails with those efforts so that we can complement each other and we can do better work together. The last thing we want to do is take money that's already been dedicated from another budget and then do the same thing. So we're also aware of what's been done in the past. And by knowing what's been done in the past, not just through our own organization, but what has taken place in the past throughout the region, we can put together the projects that identify opportunities in the future, but also address some of the weaknesses that we might find within the regional economy. We're not what I would say an attractor of mega projects. We reserve that space for our partners at Invest Alberta and Invest Canada. Those are the organizations that the province and the federal government has identified and supports to do a lot of overseas work with huge investors. So when you hear about a massive investment in the billions of dollars, more than likely those come through Invest Alberta or Invest Canada. We're not a lobbying firm, but we have access to 175 elected officials, so if something matters, we can communicate the importance to everyone around us within all orders of government. And we're finally not rigid. We're always flexible, looking at ways to adapt and looking at ways that we can create more value for you and our members. I talked a little bit about the evolution of CAEP and the history. So we started off, if you want to think about it in these terms, the early days of CAEP were really a dedicated staff from the provincial government that occupied 4+ positions in the provincial building in downtown Red Deer. In those days, it was pretty easy to attract members to join. The amount of cost to be a member was very low, in part because the positions that were supported through the province were at such a level that you had enough human resources to push forward in many different areas. As we get into the mid-2010s, we took on more of a dual role. Not just a not-for-profit, we started to move away from the government of Alberta, like all of the other REITs in Alberta. And from there, an executive director was hired through CAEP, through the not-for-profit arm, and not the government of Alberta. What we found during the early days of CAEP, and in fact, while there was more support from the province, is that oftentimes the province, and you may have this experience yourselves, sometimes the province wants you to do things and it's not necessarily in line with your mandate. So we found that a lot of human resources, time, and effort for the organization was going to writing reports for the minister, doing the kinds of things that help the province, but weren't necessarily focused on our membership. When we get into our current era, between 2016 and 2025, we see an ongoing erosion of provincial funding, which will result in the eventual withdrawal of provincial funding in the next 24 months. So where does that put CAEP? That puts us in a position where I'm going to say we're being liberated. So it puts us in a position where we get to discuss what those options are so that we can make sure that everything we do is focused on membership. Everything that we do is focused on the region, and everything that we do makes a difference to the communities that we serve. So we're currently in the position right now, and I talked a little bit about this earlier, where if we look at the definition of local economic development, I would say a good number or a good amount of time is focused on local issues in economic development. Certainly I'm aware of what happens in the town of Innisfail. You have some great opportunities with industrial land that's available for investment. You've had some great successes by being able to market that land. those are areas of responsibility that the local economic development staff here in Innisfil have. If we look at the function of business retention and expansion, many economic development programs will include that in their economic development officers' duties. Now, in addition to that, there's possibilities to focus on other business retention and expansion activities. So what that means is putting the resources toward those businesses currently in Innisfil and becoming aware of what their needs are so that you can support them in the business that they do. There might be a barrier. Oftentimes we hear things like workforce becomes a challenge to attract the types of employees that they need in order for their business to be successful. So time and energy can be spent on business retention and expansion, can also be covered through other opportunities to collaborate with municipalities in the region. When we talk about small business support, that would be more in the line of talking to your Chamber of Commerce, talking to the Community Futures Office, and understanding that they do the types of hands-on work with business, such as building business plans, equipping entrepreneurs with the skills so that they can be successful, and so on. And then I talked a little bit about Invest Alberta and Invest Canada, where the investment attraction part of economic development is their primary focus. Currently, CAEP, you notice we're not touching any of those. We try to stay out of those areas to some extent, but we'll always help our communities that have challenges with advice and support so that they can kind of get through if they're running into any barriers along the way. About a year ago, the CAEP Board of Directors approved a strategic plan entitled Empowering Investment Attraction in Central Alberta. So how do we do that? How do we make sure that our communities are better equipped? Having access through a phone call to talk to someone like myself is one advantage that our region has. Another thing that we can do is source the projects that will help them become more investment ready. So when I talk about investment readiness, what that really means is, sometimes I put it in these terms. Hey, you're a municipal government and you have a lot of fire trucks. When's the fire? What kind of fire is that going to be? In a sense, economic development is waiting for the investment and anticipating what kind of an investment that might be gets you further to the potential of actually landing that opportunity. So we help our communities dial in on investment readiness to feel better about what the resources are that they have, but also helping them to organize themselves in a way that'll get a better result. So we help along those lines. We do also offer strategic training and development in the month of March. We have 2 sessions in rural economic development and the fundamentals of economic development, where CAEP members receive the first 2 seats free. And I'd encourage any of you that are interested in attending to find out a little bit more, and we're happy to follow up with you. Those dates are the last 2 weeks of March. We're also very active communicating with different orders of government, as I mentioned, following up with our assistant deputy ministers and ministers, and making sure that we know the projects and the funding sources that are available so that we can put together a multi-jurisdictional application that covers the region more broadly. I also want to invite you to, or encourage you to attend our future networking opportunities. 2 of the biggest opportunities we have each year are our spring general meeting, which was hosted here in Innisfil at the golf course in 2025. In May of 2026, we'll be hosting our annual general meeting at the Wolf Creek Golf Course in Ponoka County. So we would encourage you to attend if you have an interest, find out more about what we're up to, but also what some of our supporting partners are doing as well. As you can see, we have a really great mix of elected officials on the board of directors, an excellent chair, and of course, great representatives from throughout the region and throughout industry. So when we talk about the way that we're organized, one of the initiatives the board is working on at the moment is to revitalize and revisit the Articles of Association. In the past, seats for the board of directors have been allocated based on the type of municipality. One of the things we're looking at is changing that to reflect the population instead, because we know that there are villages of X size, and then there are towns that could range anywhere from the size of Innisfil to the size of Sylvan Lake. And to have a competition for those seats when there's such a difference in the population base isn't as popular or as logical as we would like to make those changes moving forward. In the last year, we hosted a great event on Gasoline Alley, the SiteLink Forum from September 3rd to 5th. We had a great opportunity during that time to do a tour where we took a spin through the town of Innisfil. We stopped at Deep Sky and had a bit of a hop-off description of what's happening there. This was an event where we had site selectors from across North America that participated. These are the types of people that select locations for future investment. And having them close to us and being able to share with them a handful of opportunities was very valuable to those who were participating. We also passed on complimentary registrations for that event, and as I mentioned, the showcase tour was an important part of the event. I talked about our community investment readiness profiles. Innisfil was one of the 10 participating members that participated in that program. Essentially, you got a 50% off coupon by being part of CAEP in that project. So we help bring down some of those costs for something that you might want to do independently. Let's see. Yeah, we continue to build our government relations and visibility. I said from the moment that I started working with CAEP, our number one goal is to build relationships and beyond that, generate a deep level of support from all the communities that we serve and all the people that we interact with through industry. And I also mentioned the training workshops that'll be taking place later on this month. Team Central Alberta, this is a new initiative for us in 2026. This is our industry partnership program called Team Central Alberta. I told you about how liberating it is to know that in the future you're not going to be receiving provincial government funding. I get a feeling you know the feeling. Maybe not so liberating. Team Central Alberta, it is my way of opening the door to our industrial partners, those who may be, may find it valuable to access all of our partners at a municipal level, but also have important things to share about what's happening economically in the region. So some of those include utilities companies, insurance companies, banks, and other industries that have an interest in seeing our communities move forward. So through that program, our goal is to replace some of the provincial funding that we would have been receiving otherwise. But it's also, the great thing about this program is it's going to connect us more closely with the businesses in the region. And that helps us be more aware of what their needs are so that we can then develop the programs that fit more closely to where they want to be. Going on to one of the applications that we have for funding through the Northern Rural Economic Development Grant Program is a regional land development investment attraction strategy, which would include a series of workshops that talk about what it takes to have investment-ready sites, and then identifies types of trends in commercial real estate and support for municipalities that are looking to develop more land or considering maybe the first time that they would do land development in the future. All kinds of different opportunities for us in the sphere of grant funding through Prairies Can, as well as the Northern Regional Economic Development Program. Those announcements will be forthcoming in early 2026. Usually the way the province likes to do that is they make those announcements at the Economic Developers Association of Alberta conference in April. Of course, we extend opportunities to talk with you as members of one of our partner organizations to talk about economic development. And if there's ever a time when you have challenges or you want some advice, we're happy to provide you with that along the way. The board is also looking at other ways that we can do more advocacy in addition to international market development. You may have heard of a massive trade show in Europe called Hannover Messe, and how Red Deer Polytech has attended in the past. And we're looking at ways that we might be involved in the future so that we can make those connections internationally, but also across Canada for businesses that are working on different challenges here. Back in November, we had our fall general meeting. That's the other major general meeting that we have for CAEP. We put together a presentation for elected officials called The Secret Sauce, essentially demystifying economic development for elected officials. And as well, you'll see a number of lunch and learns and other workshops coming forward in the next few weeks. I've also started reaching out with our CAO network to make sure that we've got good feedback from our chief administrative officers in the region to help us appreciate the challenges in economic development that they face and the ways that we can support them in their roles. In fact, tomorrow I'll be meeting with a data visualization company to talk about improvements to our portal for data and information. That becomes a very, very important feature for community to have access to data, but also use that data to tell a story about where the opportunities are in your community. We continue to improve our website, get our newsletter out there, and put stories out on social media through LinkedIn in particular. And as well, we're in the process of finalizing a memorandum of understanding with Red Deer Polytech that is geared toward providing opportunities for youth in municipal settings in the future. Other areas of focus include and I talked about it already, is the modernization of our Articles of Association and how we're structured as a not-for-profit. Can't believe it's over. Very happy to take any questions from any of you around the table. It'd be my pleasure.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Does anybody have any questions for Paul? Councillor Heistad.
Yeah, Mayor Barclay, just a quick one for Paul. I used to work at Olds College, so I think Olds College used to be involved with CAEP. have they kind of dropped off, or are they just Red Deer's always been involved as well, Polytechnic. So I'm just curious if they're, I think they're integral to the Central Alberta region, but there's lots of new leadership and administration coming and going within the college. So
Yeah, we've had several conversations with Olds College about different initiatives over the last several months. They're always in our thought process when we talk about the strengths of the region. Of course, you can't talk about agriculture really without Olds College, and so yeah, we've had some good chats with them about potential projects or teaming up with them on different initiatives. We just haven't got to the point here where they've been jumping in directly on a number of things.
And directly working with youth, is that post-secondary students or is that high school students?
Yeah, the program we're talking about would be post-secondary students. And that, we need to flesh it out a little bit. We're just at that early stage with RDP, but happy to have any input that you might have based on your experience.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Thanks, Paul, for your presentation. I have a question for you. Given the funding changes and the Declaration of Freedom, I'm curious, have you maintained that relationship with Alberta government employees and those frontline workers in those various departments, or are we pretty much now just on our own?
We still have a good year and a half worth of reporting that we have to do, and we work with them on our grant reporting. The current situation is we receive $125,000 in operational support. However, this year that is cut in half, and then we have project funding that has to replace part of that funding to transition. So yeah, we continue to have conversations with our provincial reps through the regional economic development supports based out of Red Deer, and of course throughout the different parts of jobs, economy, trade, and immigration. So yeah, those are ongoing. I guess that's what I can say. Yeah.
Anybody else? I think I'd add to that too, Paul, the House Pass pre-feasibility study that was just complete, and I don't know, do you want to just mention that for 2 seconds?
Yeah, I didn't specifically mention it. One of the projects that we had funding through the Department of Transportation was for a feasibility study for the House Pass / Connections Corridor region on Highway 12. That takes you through to Saskatchewan River Crossing and looking at that connection right to Golden, BC. We've just received that report back from the final copy from the consultants, and we'll be releasing that in the next couple of weeks. It identifies some of the costs in the future, but also provides a platform for future advocacy and potential as an ongoing project through the province on that basis. So I can't say, total freedom, but we are having influence, and I think that speaks to Councillor Wing's question there.
All right. I don't see any more questions, so thank you again for coming. We appreciate it. And be in touch. Thanks, Paul. All right, so we have kind of a short agenda today in camera, but we will move into correspondence and information. I just want to point out the first piece of correspondence, Save Our Research Station. Have had some dialogue with our MP Blaine Calkins, as well as I've emailed both Reeve Ireland and Mayor Hibbs in Lacombe. They were actually in Ottawa last week doing a presentation to committee on the potential closure of their Lacombe Research Station, and I know that they would like us to send a letter of support to them, so we just want to bring this forward to make sure that if council's on board, I would have somebody make a motion that we provide a letter of support to the City of Lacombe and Lacombe County for this initiative. Councillor Strong.
I would make that motion that we send that letter of support.
Okay, thank you. Any conversation, discussion? Councillor Heistad.
Yeah, no, it's actually a really good point. I think what's good about this is showing all levels of government that we're all partners, and no matter who's in power or who's the governing party, federally or provincially, there's going to be matters that we need to make sure that we're aligned in looking after one another, especially in that research, with the research facility where it affects many local industries that Central Alberta represents. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, we have a motion. All in favor? Okay, carried. And then the other two pieces of correspondence, Juanita. Just CAEP, and so we'll just have a motion to accept the correspondence as information, please.
Mayor Barclay, I'll make that motion. Just before I do that, though, just a comment of encouragement to all members of council. Please come to the AGM for the Water Commission. It's in Innisfil. It's at the Legion on April the 8th. It's very informative, and it's, I think, a very timely conversation, because certainly major infrastructure is on the radar, our radar, across the province all the time. So it's close by. It's just down the street. And so if you're available, I would sure welcome you to come.
All right.
So I would make that motion to accept for information.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. And then we'll do round table, starting with Councillor McKellar today.
Yes, Mayor Barclay, I have nothing to report, and I'll put it in my written report next week.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Russell.
I'll submit a written report next week as well. Just a question about tomorrow night with the spring registration night. Are we all planning? We have a table and we're setting up? Okay.
We do.
All right. Thank you.
I think it's kind of mingled in with everyone else, so, yeah. Councillor Heistad.
Yeah, I'll have my report built for this up next meeting, and actually I'm going to be out of town, so I'll have to be via Zoom for that one. And then there's a big Eagles game. Might as well get a plug out there for Wednesday night, 7:30. And we did receive correspondence from individual that looks after the Legion, and what I'd like to do is have further discussion with council, just due to our, when the conversation or when the email came to us, it's not our position to look after this area, but I do see that under the FCSS banner that I'm in my role on council is to look at ways to, make sure that we're advocating for individuals in our community that may be affected with some changes coming up. And that's all I got to report today. So, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to address that? CO Becker, I know it's been...
I really don't have any comment.
Yeah, okay,
Yep.
I know it's been addressed, so...
Yep,
Okay.
thanks.
All right, Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I will have a written report for next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Strong. Cold fingers, that's why it doesn't work.
I too will have a report for next week. I have the AGM and meeting for the historical village this week.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hill.
I as well will report next week, but I do have MPC tomorrow, so looking forward to that.
All right, awesome. And I'll report next week as well. I'm off to Ottawa on Wednesdays for the carbon removal day, so looking forward to that. 6.1, upcoming events. I'll just have somebody make a motion, please, to accept the upcoming events as information. Councillor McKellar.
Mayor Barclay, I'll move that we accept the upcoming events as information.
Perfect. Any changes to anything anybody see? No. All in favor? Okay, carried. And then we'll just have a motion to go in camera, please. Go in camera. Oh, just hang on. Move in cameras, MGA 1972, ATIA 29.
I'll make
Councillor
that motion, Mayor Barclay.
Thank you, Councillor Wing. All in favor? carried. All right.